Hey, good morning, and welcome to this week's episode in our franchise education process. We thought it would be good to spend just a few minutes describing the unique process you'll be going through in your due diligence with regards to looking at various franchises. Because the industry is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission, or I should say the sales of franchises is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission, there is a unique and somewhat quirky process you'll be going through that is most of the time very, very structured, and it always kind of takes people by surprise. So we are going to kind of walk through what it's going to look like. And we also have a great ebook. And if you're interested in that, please reach out. We'd be happy to share it with you. So there are some tried and true sort of steps that occur when we first introduce you to a franchise development team. And let's talk about what those steps look like. So initially, we're going to be introducing you to the franchise development team at a pretty high level. They will reach out to you. We've already provided them with your financials and maybe your psychometric assessment if it's not, if it's going to be an owner-operator model. And they are going to reach out to you to set up a call. And typically that initial call is just a little get to know you call. It's tell us about your background, tell us why you're interested in our brand. They're going to give you a little history of the brand. And then predominantly they're going to assess your interest to see if they want to set up a second call. And that second call is really where you begin to get some information. And Jeremy, maybe I thought you'd talk about this piece about what goes on really on that second call where it gets a little more meatier.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. And obviously with each franchisor will have a slightly different process, but typically that second call is going to start to dive into the business model, depending on the nature of the model as to kind of how complicated or not it is. They'll take you through, perhaps some of the key metrics in the business, how just how the business works, the staffing model, things like that. And often they'll also start to sort of talk you through unit economics, whether that's a bricks and mortar location or a service business without a physical location. They'll start to kind of explain that and help you sort of understand, because obviously further down the track, you're going to start to build a model to try to forecast what the business will look like. At the end of that second call, assuming both parties are still interested in continuing conversations, they will typically share their franchise disclosure document, the FDD, and send you that. And typically we'll also then arrange a follow-up call, which I think, Terry, you're going to talk a little bit about what's covered in that FDD review call.
Thanks, Jeremy. The purpose of the franchise disclosure document, or the FDD, is to provide prospective franchisees with information about the franchisor, its principal officers, the franchise system itself, and there'll be agreements that ultimately, if you decide to move forward with the franchisor, you'll need to sign so that you can make an informed decision. Before you sign the document, we recommend that you talk to and hire a franchise attorney who we can help refer you to, just to make sure that you totally understand what you're signing, because it is a legal document. So the FDD itself, it contains 23 specific items, and every single FDD from every franchisor will look the same. It'll have all 23 of those items. So whether it's McDonald's or a handyman franchise, you'll be able to get similar information from it. And after you look at it, the next call that you'll have is with the franchise development director again, and you'll have a chance to ask kind of higher level questions about what the all the different items contain. So it's you'll have plenty of chances. We'll help you as well. We have a document that we can send to you explaining what each of the items contains, and you'll feel comfortable with what's in that document by the time you have a chance to talk to the franchisor again about it, and we'll, talk to you about it as well. So don't worry about it. It's usually a big document, 250 pages or more, but we'll help you through it, and you'll get help from the franchisor as well. So Jeremy, back to you.
Yeah, I think in most brands, particularly those that are perhaps more moving parts in the business, they will, and also more well-established brands, they'll typically have a couple more calls. It may be a session with the marketing head or somebody within the marketing team to talk about how you market that new business and the support they'll provide. It may be to talk about their real estate process if it's a bricks and mortar business. What support are they doing into the franchisor level? Do they have a third-party real estate company that they use? And then also you'll most likely kind of have a call with, and it may be wrapped into the marketing call with somebody on the operations side, again, to talk about maybe it's the the ramp up and startup of the business, the hiring side, for you to ask questions there. But as Jane says, sometimes brands will go straight to validation, which I'll hand it back for you guys to talk about that.
Yeah, so validation is really the term for speaking to existing franchisees in the system. And this is one of the great benefits of franchise discovery, is they are required to disclose the name, contact information of every single franchisee in the system nationwide, anyone who's left the system within the last 3 years. And there is nothing that precludes you from picking up your phone or emailing anybody you like to. Generally, however, we encourage you to ask the franchisor for introduction to various franchisees with certain attributes. You're going to want to hear what the first year or two is like. So you're going to want to talk to somebody who's relatively new in the system the last year or two. So less than 3 years, let's say. And you're going to want to talk to somebody who's more than 7 years also. And you're going to not necessarily want to talk to only the top producers. And incidentally, they're not allowed to steer. They're not allowed to just only introduce you to the top producers. You're going to want to talk to somebody maybe in a similar geographic type of a market. Maybe you're going to want to talk to somebody who's running it semi-absentee if that's what you're planning on doing. So we'll coach you through this process, but the goal is to talk to 7 or 8 people who will be the most useful to you in terms of getting the real down and dirty, because the franchisor is not allowed to say how much money you're going to make. Franchisees can tell you how much money they made, how much money they made year one, how long it took to break even. This is your first opportunity to get that type of information. Not everybody will be forthcoming. Most will. It's where you will make your decision. Brands often shine in validation. Sometimes brands fall apart in validation. And things change over time. Maybe a brand that everybody was super happy with 6 years ago, there's a lot of disgruntlement now. So this is really the most important part of the process. It's the most time consuming. We always figure 2 to 3 weeks, because you'll be sending out 1 million requests for calls, and 20% of the people will get back because they're busy. And you have to be really persistent and really diligent and be prepared for the calls, be organized for the calls. We encourage you to ask the same questions in the same order, so you're comparing apples to apples. And that is where you're going to really find out and do a gut check. Is this something you really, really want to do? And after that, Jeremy, if you're still interested, what happens next?
Yep, and I was just going to add one real quick thing on validation, because I as a franchisee, I get validation calls, and my mantra is I'm not going to tell somebody something if they don't ask it. So, you know,
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't ask about P&L, I'm not going to volunteer it. And so my message to everybody that's doing validation is always don't be afraid to ask the questions.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how many people are kind of scared to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So the last part of the process from the franchisor side is what's called meet the team or discovery day. Pre-COVID, that was almost always an in-person meeting. Post-COVID, you know, brands have shifted to virtual. Some have gone back to in-person meetings, and it's sort of, you know, it varies. But basically, that's kind of the, I guess, where, you know, the rubber really meets the road, because you get to meet the team that you're going to partner with, from, you know, kind of founder, CEO, down to, you know, operations head, marketing head, the real estate development people. And yes, you've had calls with them, but it's so different when you meet people face to face and spend some time with them. And that's really that day, or you know, prolonged Zoom meeting is really also the franchisor kind of assessing you and making their decision as to, you know, are you somebody that they could see, you know, being a good franchisee, being successful in their system, being collaborative, and somebody they want to go into business with. So it's really a two-way process in that that meet the team discovery day. And at the end of that, it's, you know, that's really the franchisor has given you everything that they can in terms of their story and their business. And then it's, you know, you're back to you to make that decision as to whether you go ahead.
The other thing with Discovery Day is that it's on your dime. You do pay your own expenses to get to and from. They'll take you out to a nice dinner and treat you to lunch and all that kind of stuff once you're there, but it is at your own expense.
Yeah, they want to see that you're committed, and it is an awards process. It should be noted that within 24 hours, they will either award you the territory or not. We've all had the experience of people not being approved. And if they award you the territory, you then have, you know, some reasonable period of time to make your decision. They'll usually say 7 to 14 days. Well, that is about it for the discovery process. Follow us on Vimeo or YouTube, and reach out if you'd like to have that free copy of our longer ebook on the due diligence process. And thanks for listening.